Very good. Yep. You're looking joyous with the season.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hey, brother.
This probably won't be painful at all, and we'll be out of here pretty quick.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Are we on? We are on, okay. Well, it is Tuesday, December 10th. I call this meeting of the CRCRC to order. We'll start with roll call.
Ryan Ryder.
Dave Bench.
Duke Garwood. Tom Farrell.
Very good. And move along. We'll look. Now, anybody signed up for public comment? Very nice. And to the consent agenda, do we have
The minutes,
motion.
I've looked at the minutes, I have no changes to them, I'm the only one that spends a lot of time with the damn things anyway, so I move adoption of the minutes from.
I am offended by that.
And I will
remark.
second.
You're, I beg your pardon.
I'm not only offended, but I'm guilty.
All right. So, we have a motion?
And a second.
Okay, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes carried. Okay, moving along to regular agenda, discussion item regarding intent to continue. Oh, I've got the wrong one here. Number 3, discussion and possible action on clarification regarding side yard projections. The reason why this is here is this came up at the last P&Z meeting last week. We had our side yard projection codified version of it was being considered by P&Z, and the question came up as to whether those side yard projections, as we had made our recommendation, did they include chimneys?
Include.
Chimneys, right?
Well, that's part of the house.
It is part of the house. I said that I recall, and in particular, and I mentioned you, Tom, I said, in particular, I recall Tom's statement saying nothing in a 10-foot setback,
Well, we did
including
talk-
everything.
We talked about air conditioners and we talked about, emergency generators.
That's a different subject. Those are structures in a side yard setback. What we're talking about here are things like bay windows, projections coming out from the building, actually part of the building.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
overhangs and bay windows.
Yeah, there was the overhangs piece, it's 33% allowed across or 5 feet in the front and all that. We got all that taken care of. I believe that we agreed that chimneys would be included in that list of things that were not allowed to be in a 10-foot setback. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
if you want a motion on that.
No, I don't think we already did motion on it, and I didn't want to go back to the last one. I said, I'll take it back to CRC, I'll make sure we got the clarity that you need, and that's good enough.
Okay.
Okay?
Dave, can we go back to public comments since we have
Okay.
somebody come in?
Are you here interested in making a public comment, sir?
No, I'm not, but thank you for asking,
Oh,
and thank you for interrupting.
All right. Very good. Welcome.
Thank you.
So then, with that, we will move along to
No, you get
regular
paid.
agenda item
Up here.
number 4, discussion regarding the
Cut your check.
December 4th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Actually, a lot of what we're talking about here is planning and zoning and what their feedback is to what we've given them. So let's just strike that, and we'll just talk about the individual items that come afterwards. I'm just going to move along to agenda item number 5, discussion and possible action on the Planning and Zoning Commission's feedback regarding the CRCRC's code enforcement recommendation. They liked what we had written as far as code enforcement, and wanted to add another comment there that we had talked about. In fact, we now have the document that I've
There was
made
a document in the
changes to.
package that-
I've made changes to it. We're not gonna do anything with this, but we had originally had item 1, say, and review current resources to ensure staff are being provided what's needed to effectively enforce the codes. And then we said, set the penalties for the ordinance violations to the maximum allowable.
Yeah.
Now, I've added
Jay
here,
wanted that to include hanging in the park and things like that, but
what they wanted to add was ensure that the city contractors and consultant performance meets the requirements for effectively and timely code enforcement, and if not, take corrective action, which I added to this thing. So now this document has become a joint CRCRC P&Z recommendation.
Say that again, Dave. I'm sorry, I didn't.
What we did was, if, you
Just
know,
the
this
added
document
part.
is available to you, but
Oh.
what we've added is a new thing that says, ensure that city contractor / consultants' performance meets the requirements for effective and timely code enforcement, and if not, take corrective action.
is
Well,
this the result of a bust on some project?
I think it's, yeah.
Remember, we've had a lot of several of the issues that we've addressed in doing this committee were the result of the code enforcement not reading the same way reading the code the same way we thought they was.
Yeah.
Well, is this aimed at the consultants at the building permit level or at the?
Well, I think that's a primary discussion point, yes.
Yeah. Now,
Now, it could be anybody though, I mean, anybody who's involved with this code enforcement.
I understand.
So, it's a
Well-
general statement, but yeah, I think it's.
well, but
first-
you're
that
talking
comes
about
from-
now third party.
Yes, we're
All right.
talking about third party.
So we only have two third parties that we hired to do this.
Right.
One is our engineers from the drainage standpoint, and the other is our inspectors from the building inspector. And I will tell you, I don't mind this being in there, but just as a note, this is Ashley and the mayor's responsibility to make sure that's done.
Right.
And so this is belt and suspenders as far as I'm concerned. I don't think you have to put it in there, cause I think they know, I don't think either one of them is shy enough
It is-
not to say something if they don't have the ability to
Okay.
do it.
It is in there because P and Z had asked to
And
have it in
that's,
there.
that's okay.
You know, and so therefore, it's really out of our hands. Effectively, I'm reporting to you.
Yeah,
To
no,
let you know that,
It's all right.
actually, they looked very kindly at our recommendation and wanted to add to it. And that's it. So,
Okay.
Okay?
That's the program, it always has been.
yeah.
All right, now, moving along to regular agenda item number 6. Discussion and possible action on the Planning and Zoning Commission's feedback regarding the CRCRC's drainage, impervious cover, and Florida area ratio recommendation. This got a little bit different discussion. P&Z in general was in favor of everything that we had said up to the last paragraph that was added in the end that had to do with recommending another committee to have a look at drainage and impervious cover as a separate item.
Well, that was a committee and a budget to get some engineering expertise.
That's right, exactly. And what they want to do is what's happening is our recommendation will go to city council from P&Z without that paragraph, but they want P&Z wants to take it up themselves as an item for their consideration. So if there's going to be work done on impervious cover or drainage, they wanted to start with P&Z first. And I said, that's fine, that's fine. If you want to bring it in, we'll just do that.
Again, for them to do the drainage part of this, they have to have, the city's gonna have to spend some money on engineering. Cause if they can do whatever they want, but if they don't have the expertise on drainage engineering there, I think they're just spinning the wheels, in my opinion.
Well, and they need to coordinate that, which we weren't able to do because we didn't have a budget for engineering. They have to coordinate that with the city's existing, drainage plan and the work that's going on out there right now.
Yeah.
The bond work on drainage, so it's a complicated issue.
Sure it is.
Well, the drainage, I think that, you know, David, since this is a discussion item, I can
Sure,
bring this up.
you
I
can do,
think.
yeah.
So there's two things on that. One, I really believe that, and if you can pass this along to them, that
Sure.
we on our drainage criteria manual right now, I am hearing from people, and I wish Jay was here, cause I'm here, and of course Duke has done this too, but people are spending $50, $75, $100,000 on that drainage criteria manual. And I'm not saying that's bad, but I'm saying if it would be wise for us to stop and not stop per se, but to take a look and see if that money that's being spent is the best use of those funds to fix drainage problems in Rollingwood. Or would it be that I say, Duke, you get the water to the street, we'll take care of it, we're gonna charge you $15 a square foot, drainage fee, and that goes into a kitty, and then we use that to fix the drainage that we need to fix.
I promise you that your concern or your suggestion has already been voiced.
Well, that's fine.
Okay?
This-
And the reason is because people were bringing you up about drainage. And I said, well, if you spoke with Tom, if you spoke with Tom recently, you'll know that he's in favor of taking another look at the DCM and making a determination as to whether or not the money being spent by contractors or developers today is actually wise, and should it not go into a larger fund. Now, okay?
There you go. Thank
You
you.
can go back and check the minutes. I
No,
promise it's
I-
there. So,
You're better than a minute.
okay, and then,
One other point.
go ahead.
Kathleen Horn
Right.
had a, letter, which we also have seen, I suspect.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, everybody should have gotten them, taken a look at her emails. I mean, it was pretty graphic with photos and whatnot.
That's it, yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is, as I understand it, I didn't understand it really from this, but I talked to Ashley before the meeting about, that is an 11-foot deep hole to put a tank into, and how then they're gonna drain it out of a hole for the detention tank, I have no idea. They're gonna have to run one heck of a line, and they must have a lot of slope on that lot.
They do
Very,
not. It's a
very
flat
a minor amount of slope. I went over and looked at it.
Yeah.
The difference we have on this is, when the drainage criteria manual was passed, you were not allowed to put these drainage features in the setback area. That was changed some years, after that passed. And now you
About
can.
4 years ago, according to
And
her email.
one of the reasons, and Ashley, jump in, one of the reasons I understand it was changed was we were creating a moat area on the far side of some of these drainage deals, which was making maintenance difficult to get to.
What-
Now, my issue is this, a little bit different. There's two things on this. One, setbacks are setbacks, and I can't see that this is not a structure, I'm sorry, but that's me. The second thing is, there is a PUE generally on our setbacks. And if you're putting a
Pardon,
tank
yeah.
in our PUE.
Is this a side or is it a back?
It's on the side. If you have a PUE there, and you're putting drainage features in it, and we're required to go in and fix a pipe, sewer, water, whatever, it's gonna create a problem. Now, we can tear it through it, cause we have an easement, but that means somebody has to go fix it and fix it back. And that just is, that's an issue. I would rather, at the very least, I'd rather not see, to be honest, most of these drainage features, if they're involving berms, who cares? I don't think that's a big issue. If, however, they are involving a structure,
Like
that
the
may
tank.
make a different deal. And that's one of my points, Dave, that I've tried to make on this thing for us to go back and look. 5 years from now, we're gonna have to find somebody who is small enough, Dave, that will fit down in that pipe, that tank, to make sure that it's working.
That's gonna be an awfully small person.
I'm okay.
Isn't this thing underground though, Tom? If it's
Yeah,
if-
we're okay.
If it's underground, what's your complication, or what's your,
I'm
I'm
not.
not criticizing, I'm just saying why,
Well,
is-
except for the PUE part.
yeah, I understand the PUE part, but that seems to me to be a risk of that the developer property owner is taking, is,
It's correct.
My problem
That's
with
correct.
it being underground, Brian, is that there isn't a damn way in hell we can go inspect it and make sure it's working. And as you know, anything that gets water in it gets silt in it, and the silts fill up these holes for the drainage, and, you know, ultimately, that's one of my worries, on that. And that's why I think we go back and look at this thing.
Well, here's
I didn't envision
does
putting in tanks.
the drainage manual
when that was
require
passed.
inspections down the road?
the DCM does not say so,
No.
but it intended to.
I really don't believe that
Yeah.
we anticipated that these were gonna be done with tanks as opposed to berms and above-ground drainage features.
Listen, I was one of the people that came and asked for a variance for that particular circumstance, because, yeah, you know, and it was a rear yard setback in our consideration, and having that 10-foot setback at the back of an above-grade detention pond, that created the moat effect. I may have been the one that used that word, but, you know, nobody's gonna go back there and service that.
Yeah. And I think that's a valid,
And we got a variance, and shortly thereafter, they changed the ordinance. And, you know, I had a personal conversation with Catherine. I said, I may be guilty, you know. 'cause-
well, I'll be honest, most of this doesn't bother me if it's above ground
Yeah,
and it's no PUE there.
that was.
Below
that was the-
ground bothers me because we can't inspect it, and there is a PUE there. This should never been in the PUE, clearly.
Well, I hadn't had a chance to look at the site plan for this, but I've looked at this as well. And in this particular case, I know that it's right against the fence line on the side yard, so yeah, it's certainly in the setback. Whether or not it's in the PUE, I'm not sure.
It's almost
It is
universal
at least,
with the
it's at
PUEs
least
at the
5
back.
feet, it's at least 5 feet from the fence line in the back. And often these PUEs straddle the fence line with 5 feet on either side. So I can't be sure that in fact, without
I don't
looking
know.
at it, I
I'm
don't
not
know,
gonna-
you know.
I thought it was in,
Yeah.
looking at that
Catherine
photograph,
thinks so.
it certainly
Yeah.
looks like it is on the line.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Looks like it's-
on the side yard, absolutely. It is right on
Well,
the
that's
fence
where
line.
that's where our PUE is.
On our
Generally-
side property line?
Well, we generally have to have a PUE on the side, on at least one side.
Yeah, I
line
know.
to get the
I
water
think
line
what,
to
what
the
I think
house.
what Catherine was talking about was the PU in the rear yard that runs along the. It's like an alleyway that
Well,
runs all
that's
the way
the
through.
city
yeah.
of Austin's
That's-
electric,
Yeah. Well, I think there's probably water pipes back there too.
not in that area.
Okay. Well, anyway, there's stuff, and that was kind of the discussion. She had come actually to the P&Z meeting and made public comment at the beginning, and of course we couldn't really respond to it other than to say, well, thanks and all that, and to recommend that she go to the city council meeting next week and make the same statement, and she said she would. She was expecting maybe even to come here this evening and do this, and I said, look, CRCRC is not going to do anything like this. It's going to be a P&Z thing
Yeah.
at the very
P&Z and
least, and
council.
maybe even just city council will do it, but
I mean, we
we'll
can
see what happens
sympathize
in
with
the
her
next
for the
meeting.
vibration of the,
Right.
I'm guessing they had a
Yeah.
program of some
Yeah,
kind.
O-Ram,
Yeah. So, anyway, where we ended up with is, I'm gonna put on the P and Z agenda, next one coming up, some discussion around drainage and impervious cover and what it is we think we want to do about it. What is the next step? You know, and your conversation, your point will be made, I promise,
Thank you
again,
very much.
you know. But the fact is, and that's what our recommendation tried to do, is shine a light on something
Yeah.
that needs attention. Not for us to do here in CRCRC, but somebody needs to take a look at it. Studies have been done. They put them down, they walk away, nobody sees them again. Nobody thinks about it. So it's maybe time to reopen that chapter and just have another look at things and see what it is. What that looks like, well, we're gonna let P and Z help define that, okay? So that's really what it was. The
Okay.
rest of the recommendation will go forward as written,
Okay.
okay?
Well, and then a lot of it was, people did not demand a floor to area ratio. And,
Exactly.
You know, I mean, it was a report on our survey as well as our experience with things, so. Okay.
Dave, I'm gonna tell you this, if you pass along to the
Yeah.
P and Z too. We obviously have the latest drainage study that was done in Rollingwood.
Yes.
There's at least one, and I believe two previous drainage studies that were done, back in, one was done in, 2000, maybe. And I think one was even done before that. And then the most critical part that's there, and I hope we can find this now, I don't know if we ever found it or not, Ashley, but in 2000, and I can't remember the young lady's name, but we did she did an analysis as part of getting a master's degree over at UT on the size and the lot ratio of every house in Rollingwood.
Mhm.
And that was done before the sewer was put in, well, while the sewer was being put in. So 2000-ish. Did we ever find that?
Oh no, her name wasn't it like Meredith something, or, I remember you telling me about it, but. I don't know
Yeah.
about it.
I did not keep a copy of that, but, I bet the UT still got it, cause it was her thesis.
What is the latest one done?
Latest one was done about,
Three, 4 years ago?
yeah, 3-4 years.
It came up with, what, $12 million worth of improvements that need to be
That's where we
done?
told them to stop. They
Well,
were wanting to do more.
Well, just keep in mind,
Yeah,
when you read that report, yes, there's drainage issues.
yeah.
There were 8 houses that were affected. And I think there were 4 houses that had the threat of water maybe getting somewhere in the house. The other 4 was across the yard. And then of those 4, at least 2 were in a floodplain, which means we can't do a whole hell of a lot regardless. So you start digging down through those numbers. Now, these were ones that had water that was coming off the street.
Mhm.
We had most of our drainage issues is Duke's lot is draining into my lot and causing an issue.
Yeah.
In which the city can't touch the properties on that. So that's not a deal that we can address. But if you read that report and just kind of mark off the areas that they're talking about, it gets down to a fairly small number of homes that we have problems with.
Okay.
And we're fixing 2 of them now.
But what I'd like to see come out of this is, I hate to use the word comprehensive again, but it kind of fits. Comprehensive look at drainage within Rowanwood from a citizens committee point of view, not a consultant. Maybe with consultant help and support, but from the citizens' perspective, to ascertain, what's really important, if anything, and then get that into some sort of a document that says, this is what we, the citizens of Rowanwood, think needs to be done, or what attention needs to be paid to in these areas, this and that. And it may amount to nothing,
Well,
but it hasn't been done.
But when you look at those studies and you look at it,
Yeah.
boil it down to the real problems, it gets to be manageable problems that we can handle on that.
Yeah.
Marilyn Sashalo. Y'all remember Marilyn?
I do remember Maryland.
She's the one that did that.
Okay.
Good. And we have it on,
Don't ask.
Been
me to s-
recorded.
And I'm
been
not
recorded.
trying
We
to
can go back
spell
and
it.
look at it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the long and short of what happened with that. And, you know, I'm reporting back to
Great.
this group to let you know what's happening with our recommendations. I think good things can come out of it eventually.
Good.
All right, if we're okay with that, I'm gonna move along to agenda item number 7, discussion and possible action on amendment to the tree ordinance addressing the placement of new trees that are not intended as replacements for removed trees. Now this, this comes off of Catherine Horn's concerns as well. That in addition to a drainage structure being constructed there on this lot next to her place, and a swimming pool that is also being drilled out, there are several holes being drilled out for trees. And the trees are sitting there on the lot and they're ready to be planted and all that, and they are live oak trees. And these holes that are being drilled are effectively right under the power lines. Right under it, okay? Now, we, CRCRC, just made amendments to the tree ordinance that talked about what's allowed to go within 20 feet of power lines and what's not. All
Yeah, I
that,
mean,
but, and live oaks are not, for replacement.
Yeah, we talked about trees that would not get up into the lines.
That's right, we talked about that, but those were replacement trees. So that if you took a tree out, you had to replace it with something, and these are the guidelines around that. We have nothing in anything that we had recommended to say that if you just want to plant a tree, where you have to plant it, or where you are or are not allowed to plant it. So Catherine is of the mind that we should be extending our recommendation to include any trees that are being planted, not just replacement trees. Now, these trees that for these holes are being dug, they are not replacement trees. The contractor's intention is to have live oak trees there so that he can cover up the power lines, so that you don't have to look at them. Okay? Which, who can blame him? Makes sense to me. Now,
Well, except
No,
for the
it
fact that
doesn't.
the city of Austin's gonna come down and come by and chop them down.
that's right. And the city of Austin itself does not take issue with that same kind of thing, because they say, well, you plant what you want, we're just gonna cut it down whenever the time comes anyway. But at any rate, I did have some discussion with Jay on this, and
Problem
I
is
said,
that-
Jay, do you think you wanna do something with this? And he says, well, discussion needs to be done, he says, but he is not in favor of CRCRC taking it up. And we've done our work, that we've done what we're gonna do with this thing, and that this is not something that came up within the survey, and he would prefer that we stay away from it. Let P&Z or city council handle it, if it needs handled at all.
It seems to me that this is a request to prevent stupidity.
Well,
And I don't think we have the legislative authority at the city level to do it.
And that's what, well, you know,
Nothing-
Jerry Fleming had written a thing saying, well, he had actually written to me a change to the ordinance as we had written, okay? And I'm there, well, Jerry, I don't think so, I don't know. And then he came back, and evidently he's had some discussion with you, Tom.
He did?
I guess so, anyway, that he came up with a very interesting note. It was all kinds of whereases and what fors and so on. It says in case.
He's an engineer, not a lawyer. He's
Well,
just
if he
asking
were
on my
written
terms.
in engineer perspective of lawyerese. Anyway, he had written, and it says, well, recognize it. The thing is that we can specify things in the code for whenever someone's building something. Can we actually limit what someone wants to do in their backyard with regard to planting trees? I mean, are you gonna know it? What's the point? You know, if someone wants to put a tree up in their backyard, what?
You know, if you wanna put up a tree to hide a utility line, you can do that, but you have to put it outside of the easement area, and I mean, we've done that when I was designing part of the park area
Yeah.
back here. We planted some trees that were to hide a power line at the back of the back 40 over there, but we didn't plant it under the line.
But our rule right now is for replacement trees, it's gotta be 20 feet from the power line. 20 feet. That's more than just,
That's most of the backyard, frankly, for most
these
houses
days,
these
the whole
days.
backyard.
Yeah.
These days, whenever you're building a house, 20 feet's all you're required to have. So, and what that would say is you're not allowed to put a tree in your backyard.
Which
Well-
is not what we wanna do, because we wanna encourage trees in the backyard.
Exactly. So we
But the
have.
right kind of trees.
We've got conflicting interests here.
I think Jay is correct. though.
I think Jay is correct also. This is not our dog. We don't
This
have
is
a
not-
dog in this
This is
fight,
not
as
us.
they say in the
This is
South.
not us. So, and I think that this is a clear case of where it looks like there's a simple issue that needs to be solved here, but it is not simple at all.
Reality sometimes is difficult to deal with.
Sometimes it is. So anyway, that's, I wanted to let you know, I was kinda think we would have these letters and discuss them in this meeting, but I don't think we need to do that. So, with that in mind, I think I'm just gonna move on to agenda item number 8, unless anyone has problems. And the answer to this is discussion and update on final CRCRC report, and I have not done a thing on it because I've been buried with a bunch of other things that, on P and Z and this, and trying to get to the next step on P and Z with building height and so on, which has taken up more time than it should, but it is.
Does P and Z
How's that
have, any-
That's what happens,
Tough.
you know, when Jay, when you, Dave, when you took on both jobs, chairman of this and chairman of P and Z, I mean, you're getting paid twice. So you have 2 times the
That's right,
irritation.
you're right, I should be,
2 times 0 is 0, but
Yep,
still.
I should be burning the midnight candles, you're right.
Dave,
Yeah.
what else? All the things we gave to P and Z.
Yeah.
I appreciate your.
Oh,
report on
everything is, that you just didn't hear about is already moved along.
that. Okay,
The tree ordinance, lighting,
so.
all that,
our-
that's all moving
Our
along.
final meeting will be.
Yeah.
To discuss and approve the final report.
That's it.
Okay.
You know, one of these days, I just have to write it. Just have to write the darn thing. Okay? And that's probably not gonna be this week, so
I would think.
I'm just, but it's okay, it's probably better because I kinda wanna see how everything pans out anyway.
Yeah.
Before the final report is written. It might even be worth mentioning what the ultimate results were in the report.
I think that's probably
Yeah.
a wise move to.
Okay?
So how's
All right.
Mike Rhodes making out on?
Okay,
building height?
where we are,
Yeah,
I had
My question,
written
my
a
last
very
question, too.
detailed possibility for how we would attack this thing, getting a consultant in. And I drew up fictional contour maps, placed fictional buildings on them and saying, you know, this is what we can use. And they didn't like that. They want real life houses on
He got
lots.
3 or 4 examples, I know,
Right.
I helped him.
Thank you. So, today, I wrote a new thing based on our discussion at P and Z last week. It said, okay, these are the steps that we're gonna go through. Everybody agreed to this. First, we gotta identify the properties, we gotta get permission to use those properties for this particular review.
Particular analysis you're
This
gonna do.
analysis, that's right. Then we gotta talk to some consultants and see whether or not they can construct a 3-dimensional tent type diagram using both this segmenting approach that Mike Rhodes has brought forward and the parallel surface approach to tenting as well. I just wrote that up. I sent it to Mike today. I haven't heard back from him. We're supposed to be working on this together. We're supposed to have this locked down for the next P and Z meeting as to what way forward is exactly. I maintain that without right specificity, we can't just hand something to a contractor and say, here, do this. we have to specify exactly what it is we
Yeah,
want them
yeah.
to do.
Yeah,
Which is my intention, so.
yeah, you've gotta be, for me, not being an architect, you'd have to do a good bit of visualization to show me what the difference is between these different ways of doing building height thing.
But I thought we looked at those
Look,
with Alex and Vic
Alex
did.
did
Yeah,
yeoman's work on it.
yeah, she did.
Now, again, he's thrown in this, again, what Dave described as a segmented approach. I mean, it's adopting
Parts.
I didn't say this out loud, but it's adopting some of the concepts of the McMansion ordinance, City of Austin, which nobody wants us to use that word, but that's the reality. So you're basically taking the depth of the lot and dividing it into 30 or 40-foot segments.
Yeah.
And
Then
You know,
applying the maximum height on
as
each
the
segment.
grade changes,
right. A
as the
separate
grade
check.
changes, the envelope changes, the tip changes.
I'll just say this, that what Alex did, I was not visualizing this very well until she did all that. Then I could see it.
Yeah.
And if I could see it off of that, I think that's,
Look, and I mean, any architect that does this analysis that works with the McMansion ordinance, they're gonna have 3D modeling capability. You know, that's how anytime we do a project in the jurisdiction of the McMansion ordinance, we have to submit that to get it approved. So,
Dave,
It's
is the
not-
issue, is there an issue concerning finding budget for the cost of doing the visualization and hiring
When we went to,
the expertise needed there? And what I'm gonna suggest is, I don't know if it's possible or not under the statute, but our RCDC is sitting on a whole bunch of money and doesn't know what to do with it.
you can't use it for that.
You don't think so?
No,
Even if you call it a drainage study?
no.
if it was for the park, you could do it, but it's
Soon,
beyond that.
in January, I'm supposed to appear before you guys and tell y'all how to get rid of that money.
Oh, really?
Yes.
so it's gonna,
Yeah.
Is this something
I
you've
wanted
decided?
to do it in December as Santa
You-
Claus, but I,
you need a new boat and a new car?
no, this'll be exactly what it was supposed to be used for.
Okay, I will look forward to hearing that.
Well,
Ashley's the one that made me not do it in December.
Wasn't me. I'm not taking no blame for that.
so what had happened, in answer to your question, is when P and Z brought up this segmenting approach in the meeting before last, it had then gone to city council asking for funding to proceed. City council kind of balked and said, we don't know what it is you're actually asking for, how much it's gonna cost. Go talk to contractors, get some pricing, and then come back and we can probably, work with this. So that's kind of where we are. We have tacit,
The issue is being dealt with at the city council level. And-
It
and-
is,
and-
it is.
And ours, and
it does,
P&Z.
it's, we are done.
Yeah,
It's
we
never
know
coming
that.
back to us again. We've done everything. We've made our recommendations. So what's gonna happen is there's a document that Mike Rhodes had written, and then we have our codified recommendation for using the parallel plane, and we will use those two documents to guide the consultant on what to do in terms of tenting, creating a tent.
Of visualizing this
Of
thing.
visualizing, okay?
I-
And the P and Z people are sure that if we get a three-dimensional look at these different properties, these 4 or 5 properties within Rowanwood, that they're certain that they will know what the answer is, that we've gotten it.
Well, I will tell you.
Ain't that right?
I would just Dave, I would just suggest that they look at some of the documents that Alex did. Yeah. Cause that was, I thought, definitive to me. If
There
I
are
can
so many
understand
things
it-
I wish I could say right now, Tom, that I just can't because I got a
That's
microphone
okay.
on.
I won't push you to that point. All right. Dave, thank you.
All
I
right.
thought that was a good report.
Okay,
I do
that's,
appreciate it.
that's,
Is a motion to adjourn in order?
a motion to adjourn is in order.
I second it,
Okay,
since Brian made it.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it is
Thank you all for your time.
5:42 and we are adjourned. Now,